Well, our coaches, we came in Sunday and we cleaned up that Akron game. Chuck, Billy, myself, and JC. Everybody else out on the road recruiting today. We got there on Sunday, recruited yesterday and today. Be back tonight. We'll start back practice tomorrow and start preparing for probably just this week, just get ourselves better. Tomorrow will be like a Thursday practice. And then Thursday will be a Tuesday, and Friday will be a Wednesday. We'll get Saturday off. We'll come back Sunday with a full Sunday preparation, getting ready for Old Dominion. So it's just important this week that we continue to get better as a football team. Understand that we can't get complacent, selfish, and make sure we keep holding each other accountable. And if we can do that, we got a chance. So it's kind of nice to have an open. I think the open date fell at a good time. I felt like going into that Akron game. I'm not sure 2 weeks in an open date does you a whole lot of good. I think after 4 weeks, you get a couple guys banged up that can help us to get ready for the next 4-week stretch, which is good.
And saying getting yourselves better, are there any specific areas where you're kind of looking at this week and say, all right, let's complete here?
Well, I think just continue, just the way we practice, and we're going to try to get a lot of our emphasis this week is going to be on getting some of those younger kids. We had that that Rowe kid played almost 100 snaps Saturday, which was hard for me. He played more than anybody else on the team, and that true freshman, and the Duzes, the ones, all those guys that young players that we're trying to get in the game at times. Work on getting them better, and at the same time keep the Jaspers and Rouses and all those guys sharp by getting some good work, some good on good, and that type of thing. So, we just have to, you can always get better. You don't stay, you talk all the time about you don't stay the same, you get better, you get worse. I mean, it's important for us not to stay the same and not to get worse, and to keep getting better. So we'll work on trying to get that done.
So this time of year is always a big recruiting time for you all. How many you got out, and where and all are they going?
Well, we got 7 guys out, and they're going to Florida. One was in California to Florida, Georgia, just our normal areas that we probably hit some schools around here in the local area. We did that, the Rhode Island game we played at home on Friday night, so we'll try to get out a little bit this Friday to some of the local games here too. So,
considering how you guys finished last season with the bowl win and how you started this season, has that changed recruits' perspective of you when you contact them? Do more people know who you are? Do people maybe have a better thought of you because of the way you guys have been bowling?
well, I think they've got a higher opinion of us because, number one, we got great facilities. I mean, they're going to walk on campus right now and see one of the nicer football complexes and indoor, and new training center, and the Hall of Fame, and we're going to have as nice a facilities as anybody in the country when they come here. And they also kids like to go somewhere where they're winning. And they like the style we play on offense. I mean, if you're a wideout or a quarterback or a skill guy, you'd want to come play in our offense because of what we do offensively, and defensively it's the same deal. Those corners out there and those DBs, and those guys like to play man press, and they like to get involved in a very aggressive type defense, which we are. So they like our style of play. They like winning, and add the facilities to that. It's going to help our recruiting. Already has.
Do you see there anybody who might know of you guys now because of the success, because of the winning, especially?
I think there's no question. And Marshall's always had great tradition. From the movie and everything on out. I mean, we've always, we're not like a lot of those new schools that are just starting to play football. They don't have a whole lot of tradition. Marshall's had great tradition. It was Williams' team in college football in the '90s. And I think the difference right now is, you look up all 12 of our games regular season are on television. So, everybody, all these kids throughout the country, whether it's California, Georgia, or Florida, they can turn on the TV, and guess what? They get to watch Marshall and Cato and all those guys go out and play. So, that M is everywhere and on Saturdays, and you add playing pretty well, which we are right now, to that, and people talking about us, and it's definitely going to help us recruiting.
You mentioned Rowe playing almost 100 snaps on Saturday. What is it about him that you all liked most and that you all saw early on in the summer to get him ready for this year?
Well, I didn't see anything early on in the summer. When he first got here, I never thought he'd play a snap for us, to be honest with you. He was trying to figure out how to get to class and where he was going, and wasn't doing a very good job of doing that, to be honest with you. But he's a very athletic kid that came back in the fall and surprised me. I didn't think he was near as tough as he is. He's still got a long ways to go, but he's a very, very talented kid that is going to be a really good player for us. And a lot of people, compare him a little bit of Tyndall, but Tyndall was here for a whole year, prior to playing. This kid just walked on campus, and believe me, he shouldn't have played. He's not ready to go play that many plays. I think Chuck was a little surprised when he found out how many plays he actually played. But he's going to be a good football player for us, and he's just got to continue to get better as all those young kids do.
He said that he had gotten a personal trainer in that 3-week span between when he left for summer and came back. What does that say about a kid who understood, look, I'm not doing that well, let me go fix it in the interim and then come back and hopefully I can do better?
Well, he probably figured he better because he was in such bad shape when he got here. He had a hard time getting through our workouts there for the first couple of weeks, so he figured he better come back in pretty good shape, and he came back in better shape. And but he's like I say, he's a good football player that's starting to figure things out, and he's going to be a good player for us.
Now, the guy that stepped up big for you in the fourth quarter, Brandon Bird, had the big touchdown run. What is it about him that you've been so high on him, but from the beginning of the season?
You know, he's a great kid, number one. You know, he's another one of those kids. Ever since he's been here, I've never had a memo on my desk. He's never been an issue with class. He's always done everything we've asked him to do, and he's a good player. He's very talented. I was glad to get him in the game because I've seen, and you all saw flashes of it too prior to him getting that concussion prior to that when camp just started. But he missed some of camp because of that. But he's really a talented guy that's big, physical, and he's maybe as fast as any of the running backs we have. So I was glad to see him get his first touchdown. I know he was excited, and he's only going to get better.
Doc, already this season, you talk about being a long season, how growing and competing, the depth has already proven its worth.
Yeah. I think what has to, and the reason we're trying to do what we do is, football's a tough game, and as you mentioned, it is a long season. And, if you never get those kids in the game, at some point in the fourth quarter or whenever you try to get those kids in, then all of a sudden they have to go play. They're not ready to go play. So, number one, all those kids go out there and they work extremely hard. So if they get the opportunity to play them, they deserve to play. And the second thing is, as you mentioned, all that's going to help us. Just look at the offensive line right now with Trevor Mendelson and A.J. Addison now playing a lot, and we'll get Swede back this week. And, that offensive line's a whole lot better right now than what it was 4 weeks ago because of the depth, and those guys have all played now. And then you look at Bird now, he's got his feet wet a little bit. He's gone in there and played, and you're not, as a football coach, especially with those freshmen, you're concerned about putting those guys in if they haven't had the ball in their hands, they hadn't done it in a game situation. And Holliday Foster now has gone in and caught a punt, in an actual game, and he's gone in and made some plays. So I have no reservations about playing him now in critical situations. So you just see all those guys grow up, and McManus is doing a good job on special teams, and Yurchek has gone in there, and I don't think I've ever had this many freshmen. We felt like we had a pretty good football team coming back, but there's 7 or 8 freshmen that have actually contributed and done a good job for us, which is a little bit surprising, to be honest, because of the kind of players we had coming back.
A season that grinds from August all the way through January, how nice is it through the season to have your season divided up into thirds with those bye weeks hitting right where they do?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was perfect. You had a 4-week stretch where you can catch your breath a little bit, get some guys back healthy, and then now you got another 4-week stretch and do the same thing. So it's got to take them one at a time, play them one at a time. And the one thing is it's really good. I mentioned Rowe playing 100 plays. Rouse played like 35. Those defensive linemen play 30, 35 snaps a game. As the season goes on, they're going to be fresh, and that's another positive that we've got going with that D line and number of reps those guys are all playing, because not very many of them. The DBs are playing a little more with swag and some of those guys, but those up front guys and those linebackers don't play a ton of reps, which is good.
Through the first 4 games, what are some of the things that you pinpoint with what the team's doing that you really like?
Yeah, probably the thing I'm most proud of is how physical they're playing. I think they just you turn that film on and watch them. They're physical. They get after it. They love playing. They play extremely hard, and I like that part of it, and I just like the leadership part of it. That whether you go on the road or whether you're home, they don't play any different. They just show up and they go play, and for the most part, we've won that turnover margin, which has been huge, and that was I thought that was a big factor in that Akron game. They hadn't turned the ball over once all year. They had 4 against us, and then that set the tone for that game. But that was good.
On the flip side, is there anything you look at first week and go, yeah, we need to work on that?
Well, we got to get this penalty thing squared away a little bit. We got way too many penalties, and some of those we can control. The offsides, and a lot of that's on us. A lot of that's about every one of those offside penalties defensively was when we were in a blitz situation. We probably hadn't worked enough hard counts with those linebackers and all that in a blitz situation where they actually worked on it. So that's on us. So we'll fix that. And the offside, the jumping on offense, that's something that we can fix. And some of those are judgment calls. You're going to get some of those, but the rest of it we got to improve in that area, and we will.
Some of those penalty numbers, for most teams, that would be, you know, devastating to your chances to winning that football game. But, you know, even with 20 and 188 yards, first team still walking off the field at 41-3. Does it surprise you that they're able to, that this team has been able to kind of overcome even those mistakes and still be as dominant as they've been?
A little, you know, like I say, you look up and say you would have had 20 penalties and 188 yards in penalties, and you win 48 or whatever it was to whatever, and 40. But you know, probably I would say no, that's not going to happen. But you know, I think our guys have, you know, nothing seemed to bother his team. They just go play. You know, it was 3rd and 30. He hit Angelo Ginolese on that long one against Ohio, whatever it was, and you know, these guys, they just find a way to make plays, and that's a good thing. But we got to fix that. I mean, you know, there's going to be games in the future that, you know, that's going to be, you know, we're going to have to fight our tail off to go find a way to win. And if you have that many penalties, you're going to struggle a little bit. So we got to make sure that doesn't happen.
You all doing anything Friday as far as watching the ODU Middle Tennessee game with the team, or are you all just going to let them sort of?
No, I'd say we'll just let them. You know, we'll practice. We'll have Friday will be a Wednesday practice, and then we'll let them go back to their apartments, enjoy each other. They see enough of us. Kind of an off week is a good week for them to. Now we're around them and they're lifting today and doing all those things, but to have another team function on open days, probably they probably want to get away from us a little bit. But we'll get them back in here on Sunday and start off. But we'll be watching it. That should be good. I'm anxious to see middle play them. That's at ODU too, which that should be a good game.
How much of a benefit is it? I mean, your next two opponents they play each other during your all's bye week, so you can really break that down on the fly a little bit.
Yeah, and you know, we take them one at a time, but you know, ODU, you know, ODU scores a bunch of points, man. I tell you, I had a chance. That quarterback's really good, and I mean, they went on to go to Rice and to beat Rice at Rice, defending champions and all that. That's a heck of a win for them and their program. So it'll be a great challenge for us. So I'm anxious to see how Middle plays them up there, and I guess I'm sure they'll play them well.
When was the last time in coaching you ever had an off week and got to see your next two opponents on the same field?
I can't remember that happening, to be honest, but I don't remember that ever happened. They may have, but I don't remember it.
A couple of your players have started calling themselves the 40 boys because of all the points that they're scoring. What's the difference between them being confident in their ability and you trying to make sure that they're not too cocky and arrogant?
Well, I mean, those, you know, we spend a lot of time on making sure we're not complacent. And, you know, when you start feeling pretty good about themselves, and that's when you get beat. And we'll continue to remind them of that. And I like them being confident. I mean, I want a confident bunch out there that feels really good about themselves. I think that's a good thing. But on the other hand, they got to understand that with the expectations that I've said 100 times, there becomes a responsibility, and you better go to work every day to get better, because if you get complacent and think you've arrived, you're going to get beat. And we'll remind them of that every day. Get reminded of that all the time, and that'll continue.
James and I were on the radio last night discussing this. In today's college football landscape, how difficult is it to disseminate between the values that you have as a coach, wanting to get players in late in the games, and today's landscape where you've sort of got to make that impression and try and put up points that impresses people? Well,
I think it's more important to get your players in the game. I mean, I think number one, if you don't do that, at some point during the year, you may lose a game because of it. And if you lose that game because of it, all those whatever those points they call style points, whatever the hell they're calling, doesn't make a whole lot of difference anyway. So, you know, I think that number one, those kids, they work their tail off, they deserve to play. But number two, you know, you got to make sure that down the road, when you got to stick that kid in the game, that he's got game experience and he can help you win that game that you got to win in the future. So, you know, I think the important thing is just win games. I mean, just go out and win games, and end of the day, look up and see where you are. But you know, we're going to play extreme. You know, there's no reason our guys that we put in there can't go in there and play well too, and they got to play a little better. But I'm going to continue to play players because they deserve to play number one, because down the road we're going to need them.
Is that kind of the approach you take, Doc, with going kind of like off of Grant's question? Is it's more of the big picture, seeing the entire forest, not just looking at the tree right in front of you?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, a lot of times, I mean, what we've done in the fourth quarter the last couple of weeks is we slowed things down a little bit, because I didn't want to put that defense back out there. I don't want to put Rouse and all those guys back out there. And, you know, I guarantee you guys in here be raising hell with me if I had Rouse in there in the fourth quarter. His ass got hurt. I mean, I'd be explaining that to you. So, you know, I think the critical thing is just we need to play just if they can play, is to get those young kids in there and let them play and focus on winning the game. I mean, and that type of thing, and everything else will work itself out.
Where do you think Cato's been most effective
so far this
You know, and every week I tell Billy he's getting soft because he gives me his grades, and his decision-making's just been unbelievable. I mean, he's like 78, I don't know how many plays he played Saturday, but he's like 78 out of 79 in making decisions, and, you know, his decision-making's been unbelievable. And, you know, a lot of times you don't see what that kid does out there on that field, but, you know, he's got to make a decision just about on every play. You know, whether he runs it, whether he throws it, whether he pulls it and runs it, or whether he hands it off, or getting us into a protection or something. And just he's been tremendous on making the right decisions, and his decision-making has been unbelievable.
You know, and there's been so much talk about how he's matured as he's gone. Is one of the biggest signs of maturity the fact that in that decision-making, he's not making the best decision for him,
No.
for his stats and his award tour. He's making the best decision to
No.
get you guys in the end zone.
There hadn't been one time where he's made a decision to throw the ball and not hand it off when he's supposed to. And I mean, he's an unselfish guy. I guarantee you, if he would rather win every game than throw for 400 yards. I mean, he could care less about how many yards he throws for. He could care less about any of that. All he's concerned about is winning. He's as happy when Remy runs for that touchdown as he is when he throws one, and that's what makes him special. I mean, he could care less about all that other stuff, and he's concerned about one thing, and that's winning, and that's why he makes the decisions he makes, and that's why I'm glad he's on our side.
You talk about the stuff that he does on the field that we may not see. In the kickoff that Corey kicked out of bounds, the first kickoff Saturday, it was Cato that was one of the first guys to put his arm around him and just kind of pepped him back up. How big is that to have the senior leader go out there, grab him, and say, "Don't worry about it, we'll get it next time"?
He does. That's you know, everybody asks me all the time how much he's matured and how much he's grown. You know, he wouldn't have done that as a freshman. You know, he wouldn't have probably done that as a sophomore. But he's starting to, you know, he's doing that as he did a year ago too. He started, but he's. I'm glad he did because I didn't. But Cato bounced out that thing a little bit probably, but it's all good.
How much has his decision-making improved from, say, his sophomore year when he was throwing it all over the lot to now?
Well, you know, we did not do near as much with him as a sophomore as, of course, we're doing now. And, you know, we weren't very good up front, you know, with him as a sophomore. There was the times we had to throw it because we couldn't block anybody, to be honest. But it's just so much different now. I mean, you know, we were able to, I think the biggest thing that we can do right now is we can take what that defense gives us. If we got to run it, we can run it. And if we can throw it, we throw it. And if we want to slow it down, use that 40-second clock, we can do that and still move the football. So, you know, we kind of got the best of all worlds right now. We got to continue to try to do that.
Your running backs. I mean, you've got Devin one week, you've got Stu stepping up another week. Stu doesn't have a good week of practice. You have Remy step up. How much have they grown this year under Coach Barkley?
Well, I think Coach Barkley's done a tremendous job with them. But number one, they're more complete backs. You know, really the only complete back we had a year ago was Talferro, who would stick. You know, he'd sit in there and he'd block the protection, and he was good with the football in his hands and took care of the ball and all those things. And this year, to be honest with you, I feel pretty good about all four of them. If Stu will take care of himself and have a great week of practice, and he'll play. If not, you know, Bird's a good player, so whoever doesn't practice well, the other three will play, and the other one will sit over and watch. So I think Bird's I like Bird a lot. I probably got to play him a little more.
That type of depth too. I mean, you have that ability to say, you know, and have the confidence. Okay, it's not going to jeopardize the game if we make this point to Stu. Hey, you got to step up your practice.
It's never going to jeopardize. You know, the one thing we have right now, you know, when you have a good football team, nobody's going to hold you hostage. You know, I don't have to play anybody. You know, I got guys, I got multiple guys at every position, and you know, they got to, you know, all that stuff. I'm a gamer and all that. That doesn't work around here. You know, you practice the way you play, and you practice so hard that the games are easy, and you know, that's the way we operate around here. You know, we go to work every day and we practice extremely hard, and then if you do it on the practice field, then it's going to happen for you on game day, and that's what's happening. And there's a reason we're catching those deep balls in the games now with the outside receivers, because they've practiced really well since last spring, and they continue to do that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I've been a firm believer that game's won on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday by the way you prepare, and our team does that. And if you don't do that, then I can't do that to the other guys on the field on the team, just to put a guy in there that hadn't prepared the right way, because he'll get you beat. And I won't do that. I'm not going to let that happen.
What is up with Stu? He seems to stand alone as somebody who plays himself out of the lineup.
I like Stu. I like him a lot, and he's a good football player, and he just has to become more consistent with with the way he does things, and we're working hard with him to get that done. I mean, he's on track to graduate. He's never been an academic issue, and he just sometimes he's a little hard-headed. You know, I have a couple of my boys are like that, my own sons. So, you know, I treat him like my own kids, and when he does the right thing, then we'll take care of him. If he doesn't, he's going to sit over by me and watch. So he'll be all right. Stu will be all right.
Seemed like that first drive on Saturday, it really showed the effect that the deep ball has had on the offense. You were able to get Tommy for, I think, 3 passes on the drive and makes the run and the pass, and I think out of 9 plays, you all had 7 first downs. Is that the type of balance that you all are wanting out of this offense?
Yeah, and I think, again, I think, Grant, just take what they give us. You know, I mean, if it's, you know, if we're going to play press and play you one-on-one on the outside, we're going to go after it. And our guys have made plays there. If they're going to unload the box and try to play coverage and roll a guy up and play somebody over top the outside guys and bracket Tommy, then we're going to hand it off inside. So I think the thing that we're able to do, again, is Cato and Billy Legg and the offensive coaches are doing just a great job of getting the kids in the right play to make a play, and needs to continue to do that. We don't need to, we're not forcing anything, you know what I mean? We're not forcing square pegs in round holes. We're just taking what they give us, and it's been successful getting that done.
1 year ago, you all would have never seen anybody trying to take a deep ball away, though. I mean, that's
I wouldn't.
the interesting
Yeah.
flip from 1 year ago today. It seems like it's a little bit different.
I wouldn't have. I mean, we had, don't get me wrong, we had a couple guys out there make a couple plays, but not like we're doing it now, not on a consistent basis. But we're able to do that now, which makes us a lot more difficult to defend.
You have Cato the ability to throw the ball down the field or anywhere he needs to, but also running. And you have Devin right beside of him. You're seeing teams almost having to put a spy on him, put a spy on the running backs, and then trying to take away the deep ball. Some of the decisions he's making to get the ball where he needs to, what does it say about what this offense really has the potential to do this year?
Well, it's just, you know, like I say, I mean, I think we've got good players at a lot of positions, and you can't take away everything. But what happens to you if you don't have a quarterback that can make the right decisions on getting the ball in the right people's hands, then you can't execute like our offenses. And I can't give enough. You know, Billy Legg has done a tremendous job with Cato, and of running the show and helping that kid, helping. I mean, and he's a student of the game now too. Now that he's a really exceptionally smart player, and but he works at making the right decisions. So as long as you can keep making the right decisions. But as you mentioned a year ago, you know, we had the inside slot receivers in place. We had the offensive line was a solid offensive line. We had our running backs in place to an extent, but we didn't have the outside guys. And so you had one piece of that puzzle missing. At times, they could bracket Tommy and put a hat in the box, and we couldn't make a play one-on-one out there. And you got to be able to win out there when they do that. Now I feel, you know, we can win in a lot of different areas, whether it be with the ball in the running back's hands or Cato's hands or the inside slot receivers or the outside guys. So it's making it more difficult on defenses to defend us, and we just got to try to work to continue to get better in all 3 of those areas.
We're still talking about offense. This defense,
Oh.
the last 3 games is, I think we tried to figure it up last night. I think they've given up 3 points as a first-team unit in the last 3 games. How well are those guys meshing and doing what you all ask them to do?
Well, I mean, again, and like Billy on offense, Chuck on defense with that defensive staff, you know, he did a tremendous job. That you know, the first half against Akron, we were a lot of 3-down stuff with some backers roaming in there, and they had a hard time picking that up. But you know, again, defensively, you know, it's no different in offense. You know, we started on defense. We start with the corners as our guys because they do play press. They take away the outside guys, and then you got your inside guys, which now we can create some pass rush with those down guys, and then you add the linebackers who can run and play in space, and the 2 safeties are playing well. So, you know, we got a good little thing going there too with those guys, and there's some good players over there. And when you take good players and you coach the heck out of them, and they tackle, you know, we've tackled extremely well. You know, we've been single-digit missed tackles in all 4 games, which is our goal. And if we can continue to tackle like we're tackling and continue to play like we're playing, I think we're pretty good.
You got a kid like Tyquan Lane, got injured and beaten down a little bit during training camp. Comes back, leads the team in tackles, making a spectacular play, knocking the ball down, being involved in every play downfield. What does that say about what kind of player he really is for this team?
He's a really good football player, you know, and he's one of those guys, a little bit like Schuler, who's not very big, and you look at him and you wouldn't even know if he played football or not, but he's got it. I mean, and we knew that when we recruited him. You know, he's a good little player that he's just got that it factor. It finds a way to make play. He's extremely tough and physical now. He'll hit you, and then I thought getting A.J. Leggett back helped us because he's a good player. And then you take Taekwon, well, now we can roll 3 safeties in there and keep them fresh. So that helps. But getting Baxter back is going to help us, I think, at corner, because maybe we can get nickel. We can get Corey at nickel a little bit, and then play Baxter a little bit at corner. But getting Baxter back will help us with that depth at corner too. So, again, I like where we are. We just got to get better.
With Rouse, I think he said that the first play he had at Ohio, he had 3 guys engaged with him. Obviously, that helps the rest of your defense, but how much does that help? Like when you have to get 3 guys on their offense to take care of one of your guys on defense, what does that open up?
Well, I mean, you can't, just it opens up. You got if he's playing the nose, your 3 techniques one-on-one. Your ends are one-on-one, and it's so different. So I mean, they are, but you go back and watch that film. I mean, Rouse, it doesn't matter what they did. I mean, he gets pressure, and he's really he may not have the stats, but he had 4 or 5 plays in that game. They're just unbelievable. If you go back and look at that tape, he's special.
And how much does that alone help your guys' defense when they have to double and sometimes they have to triple this James in order for him not to?
It helps us because when they do that, it's no different Bracken and Tommy. I mean, you got somebody else one-on-one. Well, Jarquez Samuel's a pretty good player, and Gary Thompson can rush the passer pretty well, and Rashad Myers, and we got some of those other guys. Joe Massaquoy's becoming a good player for us. Mons Daniels is playing well. We got some depth in there at those end positions that can get after the passer a little bit too. So if you're going to double or triple Rouse, then you're going to have issues at the other positions, hopefully, and that's been the case.
How much is the Akron game going to help you for Old Dominion?
It'll help us some, Doug, because Old Dominion is a little bit similar to Akron, and they're 4 wides. They got it spread all over the place. They're either 4 wides or they're empty. They got a quarterback that's a talent. He's a really good player. So I mean, I guess the way that'll help us is we prepared for that all last week. But you know what? Our defense kind of goes against that every day in practice. We're a lot of 4 wides and a lot of empty stuff. So, our guys see that a lot. And but this quarterback, I've seen quite a bit of him to this point, and he's going to be a challenge for us.
For the players, is this sort of the calm before the storm? I know that with conference play coming up, they got to take it up to another gear. And is this sort of, all right, mentally rest yourself this week as we turn it up a notch next week?
Well, I think it was important to get them away from us for a couple of days, and we did that. And to get them, get their feet back under them. But we'll come back. Anybody that has an issue at all, our goal was to come back here on Sunday and everybody feel really good. So there's going to be some guys that won't do a whole lot this week, to be honest. If there's got guys that have any issue at all, we'll make sure that by Sunday they're feeling pretty good. So the guys that don't have issues will go out and get better, and some younger players will get better. But it's important that they come back fresh and feeling really good about themselves when we start preparing on Sunday. So it's my job to make sure that gets done.
Do you have any specific target areas in recruiting, like positions you're looking to?
We're about finished, to be honest. I mean, we don't have a whole lot left. We're just kind of out there seeing the guys we got committed and making sure everything's good. And if there's another player out there, we'll take a look at. But we're about finished.
Must be nice that early you're kind of wrapping things up as opposed to having it still go on.
Yeah, and we'll continue to go out because if there's a really good player out there, then I haven't been able to turn a whole lot of really good players down. So we'll figure it out.
Well, that's sort of one of the things with success. I mean, you all could almost be finished now and things completely change. Guys see, hey, they're, still seeing the success later on in the season than those higher caliber players. How do you all sort of mesh that with the kids that are already there?
I think you got to be a little careful because, late there can always be a player that thinks he's going to Florida State or Florida or somewhere, or somebody that falls out of the sky there at the end, and you like to. I'm not very good at keeping scholarships in my hand. It seems like I always. But I need to probably keep a couple because at some point that happens a lot, and I'm not very good at having one available.
Scout team. I know that we talk a lot about the offense being successful and the defense, but how much does the elevated level of your all scout team with guys like Sean Petty and Blake Keller and Michael Birdsong, guys like that, how does that really translate on the field for Saturday?
Well, there's no doubt because preparation is everything. We talk about practice, and once you get into the game week, a lot of that's done with your scout teams. But the one thing probably if you've been to practice, you see we go good on good every day, and so that being said, but that scout team's the best it's ever been, You know, you got the Gatos kid that's a good little player that's in there as a tailback, and you got Pittman running at tailback, and that offensive line's a whole lot better than they used to. That scout team offensive line was playing for us 3 or 4 years ago, you know, but now they're down on the scout team where they belong. And so we're a lot better. Birdsong as a quarterback is a tremendous player, and you know, our wideouts are better. So we're just better overall at the scout team, which makes our team better.
How familiar is he with ODU? I mean, as far as, is he going to be able to give you all pretty good look at Heineke? He's seen him a couple times, hasn't he?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I haven't really discussed that with him at this point, but I'm not sure. Did James Madison play them a year ago?
Thought they did.
I'm not sure if they played him or not, but I'm sure if he's a smart guy if he's played him. But you know, we've seen him on tape, and we got a pretty good idea what they're all about.
The team hasn't trailed at all this season. Is that something the team will be prepared for, just in case it does happen to play down?
Well, I mean, there's going to be adversity in every game. You know, we go into every game. There's going to be at some point some adversity. You know, at some point that'll happen. But you know, again, our team plays with a lot of confidence, and adversity doesn't bother this football team. But you know, that's when the leadership takes over and find a way to go win the game. But I'm sure that'll happen at some point, and we got to be able to go play. Okay. Thanks, guys.